Good evening, everyone. My name is Ava Duvern, and I will be discussing the level of project leadership and management style. Now, typically, process enabling efforts are usually managed by a dedicated implementation team. So, in order to prevent some of the pitfalls of IT, like inertia or resistance, it is best that the project is guided by higher authorities. So, you'd have a project manager that reports to the program office, and that project manager will be responsible for the process of implementation. Now, if this authority is absent, you may find that the project may be slow, or you find that people may be resistant to that implementation. And if people are interested in the project, then you'd find that that's improves the chances of avoiding pitfalls. Now, top-level executives do not always have to be involved in every IT-enabled change effort. If you find that it's a small groups that will be affected by this new implementation, then you can manage it within the group. And if the project is simple or not complicated at all, then you can find that higher level management are not needed in the implementation process at all. Now, some projects cannot be managed at higher levels. So you would find in the case of the B2B technology example, they were IT professionals. They were an IT professional services company. And what happened was that there was a lack of enthusiasm for the electronic marketplaces. And the implementation of that new technology involved multiple companies. So it was very difficult to directly connect with the affected groups and manage them forcefully from above. Now, you will find that in this example, it was not very easy to prevent inertia and resistance. And as I mentioned previously, the implementation process was slow. Now, there are two main types of management styles. You have the top-down or directive approach, and you have the bottom-up approach. And as you can see in this slide, we have a comparison of the two. You can see how they differ. Top-down management tends to involve more rules and regulations and is more structured, compared to the bottom-up management or the consensus building approach, which is a lot more flexible. And it focuses on lower level staff and their input. Now, when it comes to the implementation of a new process, management has a choice as to which style they want to adopt. They can use either the directive approach or the consensus building approach. In a lot of cases, you find that it's a combination of the two. But it is very important for our purposes to distinguish between the two because in some cases, one style may be more appropriate than the other. In the perfect world, users of new technology will embrace that technology. And we all know for a fact that that is not always the case. So you find in the cases where the only pitfalls are inertia and resistance, it is best simply for management to make a decision, regardless of whether a lower level staff or the users may think that it is an unpopular decision. Take, for example, IBM. So they used a top-down or directive approach. In their company, the processes were not very complex, and users were sophisticated about IT. Also, the system implementation was mandatory. So, in their case, the top-down approach worked. But in other companies, individuals may find that if the technology is not mandatory and there's a heavy-handed approach, that will make users less willing to use it. And also in companies where the process involves multiple companies, it will not work well because management may not feel comfortable having outsiders come in and make IT decisions on their behalf. Now, in situations where the top-down doesn't approach, it's best to use the bottom-up or consensus building approach. And management must ensure, in this case, that users are included in every step of the process, that the implementation process is gradual, and that the input of users should be included. Take, for example, the case of Alibri, the online bookstore. So the company wanted to make a change in the way that the processes worked. So they wanted to charge the book dealers a percentage of the books sold. That was a new technique that they wanted to use. But before doing that, they consulted with their customers. They explained the benefits and the disadvantages. And based on the feedback they received from their customers, they made changes and used that input as feedback to improve the process. Reliance on customer participation continues to be a significant part of Alibri's success. And now, moving on to the next segment.